Hello, everyone. Welcome to People of Interest. I am your host, Ryan T. Barlow. Thank you so much for coming out this evening and enjoying some fine comedy and supporting the arts. They might not be local to you, but they're local to somebody, and that's important. So if you're new to the show or perhaps would just like a refresher, I've got the descriptions for 3 very interesting characters written up. Backstage, there are 3 very interesting performers who are going to perform those characters. The catch is they have no idea what I've written and who their character is going to be, and they're not going to find out until I'm reading it to you, the audience. So how exciting is that? Who's on the show, you might ask? Well, let's find out. We've got Dru Kramscak, Joe Gates, and Katie Cwirko. 3 very funny, talented people who are just, you're just going to love them. That's all I can say is you're just going to love each and every minute you get to spend with them. And what's better than that? So once again, thank you for being here. And as always, before we get started, I have one more note. If you have any questions for the guests during the show, type it in the comments section and make sure that you have it set to panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your questions. And we'll make sure we can ask them on air if they're good enough. But I'm sure they're going to be great. So anyway, now that we got that out of the way, here are today's headlines.
Good evening. I'm Neil Bardhan. It's 22 degrees in South Philly, and I'm once again excited to bring you the POI news from a basement office, where I live all the time now. America's next top president, Joe Biden, has somehow been unable to magically provide a cure-all for society's ills, such that I can be in the same room as Ryan T. Barlow. American rock legend Bruce Springsteen recently appeared in a Jeep ad during the Super Bowl. In the wake of this appearance, however, it was revealed that the boss had received a charge of driving while intoxicated in Sandy Hook National Recreational Area in New Jersey. Reports say Springsteen took a shot of tequila while on top of his motorcycle in plain view of a cop. Critics have noted that in no way was he intoxicated and that the bike was stationary, while the arresting officer declared, "Baby, he was born to run." Weather systems brought snow to the Philadelphia region last weekend. The National Weather Service recorded just over 8 inches of snowfall at the airport, several inches fewer close by that location, and many inches more in higher elevations. When asked for comment, a spokesperson for the National Weather Service in Mount Holly remarked, "Excuse me? You want me to explain to you why there's snow falling in February?" Valentine's Day is this weekend, and that means one thing: chocolate sales on Monday. A new survey says that 64% of American consumers shop for candy the day after Valentine's Day. A similar poll revealed that 92% of Americans would be upset if they received candy as a gift after the 14th. It just goes to show you that we, as a nation, can't actually agree on what our values are. There's nothing else to report. Good night. People of Interest is supported by Squarespace. If Ryan ever gets around to building a website for People of Interest, it'll probably be on Squarespace.
As theater stages all over the globe have shut down, many in the arts community have looked to celebrated monologist Gary Rockwell. His inspired takes on contemporary life, such as Finding Nothing at the Back of Your Cell Phone, A Prairie Dusk at Dawn, and It's Just Me Talking to You but You Can't Say Anything Back, are considered the high watermark of one-person shows and would lend themselves perfectly to new virtual formats. However, Rockwell has been a complete recluse and has not issued even a statement since the beginning of the pandemic. That is until last week. In a stunning op-ed in New York Magazine, Rockwell has explained that after some deep soul-searching in quarantine, he has officially renounced the entire concept of the monologue, as he deems it excessively lonely and kind of sad when you think about it. He is now launching a new series of dialogues in which he's going on talk shows and turning them into deep and brooding meditations on the human conditions, which is also why he's here. Gary Rockwell, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I have to say, I read that piece, and having seen so much of your work, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing or reading. I mean,
Yeah, it was it was a long road for me. From my times being enamored by such monologists as Wilson White, for instance, to finding my own voice, and then realizing that I liked my voice being out among the people and not inside a 10 by 12 space such as the room I'm in now.
so when did when did you start getting an idea that maybe monologues were not sort of the art form the high art that you thought they were?
Well, I think it was I started, and this was probably a mistake, but judging the success of my monologues against the Marvel films, and I noticed that
Oh.
the Marvel films made a lot of money, whereas I made enough money for ham sandwiches and baked beans, and sometimes people didn't come to my shows, but the door would be open and like a pigeon or several pigeons would come in, and I thought that was sort of the beginning of my realization.
But you kept performing pretty much up until the lockdown. What happened was there something about the lockdown that really kind of sort of cemented this for you?
Well, I feel like at first, like I said, I wanted to, I wanted monologues to be the most successful form out there, and then these Marvel films came along and supplemented that. But then since the quarantine has happened, I haven't seen as many Marvel films. So I thought, okay, they're standing down. I will stand down. We have retired equally, and I will take the first step of finding something else. And your move, Marvel.
Mm. So you're really putting the ball in their court.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to
I'd like
them?
to see what they could try. Oh, I have not reached out to them yet. I mean, I've written letters to them. It's like the Benjamin Franklin line where you write an angry letter and then you stuff it in a drawer. Well, I have two desks now full of angry letters, and if I want to send them, I will, but I haven't just yet.
So are you only mad at sort of the success of these Marvel films, or is it also these films have so many characters in it and is sort of the antithesis of a one person show?
Yeah, sort of both. It's sort of ran the gamut from being upset at Paul Rudd and Robert Downey Jr. and those people for taking those films and then letting people give them lines of which to say, and then other people can parrot back to them. I don't have that luxury. So yeah, I think it was just frustration on several levels.
Do you think that do you think that there's any sort of, I mean, I can't think of immediately, of any of your works that kind of parallel, sort of the Marvel films, but is there anything that in your work that you think, kind of, oh, these are kind of have similar themes or ideas?
Well, I did one that was called "Imagine I'm Conan the Barbarian and I'm walking along the seashore," and that was one. Yeah, you might have heard of that one possibly. But basically what I did was I tried to rent out a mile-long space down at Ocean City, New Jersey, and I set up chairs and I dressed as Conan the Barbarian and ruminated about here today, gone tomorrow. Part that is life. I would take up big scoops of sand, let it run through my fingers. That was very well attended by seagulls, as I might imagine. Less people, but the ones that were there seemed to they stayed. They did stay.
Well, is I kind of wonder, having run a show myself, the more people you have on the show, the more, guests that you have in the audience. Is that a factor at all?
Sometimes. Oh, do you mean like, do I? Will those people being in the audience like change what I'm saying? Will sort of it'll be a conversation in itself. You mean, or?
Well, I just mean that if you had, say, if you were doing a dialogue with another person, you would bring 10 people, and they would bring 10 people, and now you're making.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
More money theoretically.
Yeah. I very early on, I did do something like that, and that's probably why I'm kind of once bitten, twice shy about the whole thing. I had a roommate named Stu about 15 years ago, and I sort of said, look, I will pay your half of the rent if you come on with me, and we'll sort of do these sort of Beckian dialogues and everything. And we did it for couple months, and then he left in the middle of the night, which was fine. I understand, but I think it sort of cemented the idea for me that I should probably do these things. I should row my own oar, as they say.
That makes sense. Well, we've got a couple of questions from the audience. One of them is, in your opinion, who do you think would deliver a better monologue, Iron Man Tony Stark or Captain America Steve Rogers?
You know what? I'm gonna. I think that the obvious answer would be Tony Stark, because he, being played by Robert Downey Jr., who is a very felicitous kind of way with words. But I'm gonna say Captain America. I think he speaks slower. I think he has a more simple maybe message to impart. But I've never walked out of a room while he's speaking to like use the bathroom or anything, and I think I've definitely done that for Iron Man.
If you were to write, if you were to team up with Marvel, what kind of a monologue would you write for Captain America?
I would, you know what? I think he's obviously a big fan of America as a place, but it seems very. I'd like them to get down to particulars. So I would say, like, okay, if you're going to talk about the virtues of America, talk about the virtues of Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Kalamazoo, Michigan, or Bangor, Maine, and and that way people from those areas would be like, hey, that's where I live, and more people would maybe come from those areas, and they would get. I know it's crazy. I'm helping them get more money, but I think that would help.
Right. Yeah. I don't. I'm not too worried about the Marvel movies making money, but I suppose they'll take every dollar they'll get.
Oh, they will.
So we've got a couple of people in the comments have the fact that Marvel's quote unquote laying low, but the new show WandaVision is immensely popular in the comments right now, and they're wondering if you've seen it.
You know what? I have seen it, but only small, only like little clips I've seen online. So I haven't seen the full thing, but it's about two machine people who live in a house, and they're like trials and tribulations. It sort of seems like something I would write if I was going to write something like that.
Oh, so if you could, well, so speaking of dialogue, so you're trying to move into more of a multi-part dialogue sort of driven space. Can you tell us about a bit what that looks like?
Yeah, I guess it's gonna my ideal thing, and obviously that this sort of depends upon the the pandemic ending as soon as possible. But what I would like to do is rent out some sort of theater space and invite as many people as possible, and pick a topic that people are really into, climate change or ball bearings or whatever comes to mind, and then I will talk to every single person in the audience and ask them their opinion, and just get a huge dialogue going. It's sort of like Maury Povich, but really nice, like a very nice Maury Povich.
So would everyone just end up yelling their thoughts at you at the same time, and you'd be responding as fast as
possible? Yeah. I guess I hope they would not yell all at once. I would like to do a thing where everybody gets if you go to not Outback Steakhouse, maybe Outback Steakhouse, those little things that tell you when you're ready to eat, those little buzzer things.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would have a guy standing off to the side that would buzz people in when they're supposed to speak, And everybody gets 20, 30 seconds, which God knows is enough to get out a cogent thought. And then you would just go on to the next person.
So I can't help but notice that it's still just you on stage by yourself.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've experimented. Well, I've written down ideas where people might be able to join me. I could do a thing where they come up on each person comes up on stage for 20 to 30 seconds. I've even thought of an idea where I am in the audience, everybody else is on stage, and then they ask me questions.
Oh,
so that could be something. Actually, I'm gonna have to when we're done with this. I'm gonna kind of diagram that out.
All right. Well, I think we can't wait to see it. So Gary Rockwell, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Coca-Cola supports people of interest. This year, we made the difficult choice of not having a commercial during the Super Bowl to ensure we are investing in the right resources during these unprecedented times. That's because we are saving up to underwrite people of interest, America's finest source of entertainment.
In 1590, Henry Delamar stumbled into a cave outside of present-day Wiltshire, England. His goal was to sleep off a hangover using what he thought was a restorative provided by a local alchemist. After restful sleep, Delamar exited his cave and found out that he had overslept by about 430 years. After dealing with the initial shock of waking up in January of 2020, Delamar was determined to see everything the future had to offer. His ultimate conclusion? He's not impressed. In his new book, So What? An Examination of These Middling Modern Times, Delamar lays out his argument that all of our modern conveniences and hardships just aren't living up to the wildest imaginations of the Elizabethan era. He joins us here tonight to discuss what he finds so lackluster about what many of us consider fairly exciting times, and to let us know if there's anything he does like about the modern day. Henry Delamar, welcome.
Good evening, love. How are you?
You've come a long way. It's fascinating to have you here. I just want to bring that up. You're the oldest guest we've certainly ever had on the show.
Thank you so much. That actually means a lot to me. But what I find so interesting is I'm not particularly the oldest. I think that sleeping all of that off, that particularly bad night. There are people that are 119. I heard earlier today. There's 119-year-old, 17 or whatever.
Yeah,
she's a nun. A part of me just kind of wants to go and hang out with her and see what she's up to. I might just still be about 39, but I think that all the stuff that I drank is slowly making its way out of my system.
Oh, gotcha. So you're still recovering. That must have been quite a bender.
It was quite a night. But I mean, like I say in my new book, so what? Like one of the things everybody's like really, really, really talking about, like filtration systems and like air filtration and that kind of stuff. Um, the night that I went on my bender, we really considered it. Like we went into the end of the Sleeping Rooster. It was a Friday night, so I guess that hasn't really changed. Like everybody likes going out on Friday night, but we didn't really have like a lot of like chimneys, at least not in that inn, and we like kind of smelling and like breathing in all of the smoke, and we thought it was kind of healthy for you. And like now, my next door neighbor, he's like, oh, I want to give up smoking, and I'm like, I think it's healthy for you. I'm not that impressed.
No. So, I do have to, it is kind of boggle my mind that you're not impressed with the fact that like I'm looking into a box and you're looking into a box and we're talking to each other over a great distance.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I would say, so what? Like, I had friends like up and down like the coast of like England, and if I wanted to go see them, I would go onto the road. I would see if I could find myself like a horse, or maybe borrow one, and maybe nick one from a neighbor. And like, it's easier to say like apologize and ask for forgiveness than to like ask. So, and I would just have an adventure going up and down, maybe playing like a song or something for a stranger, maybe sharing like, like a campfire with somebody, a stranger that I met along the way. I would make 10 friends that I would know their life's history, their lessons, their nieces and nephews, how many people like, they've been with. And like, you can't do that on Facebook. I would say you cannot do that in Facebook in a month's time.
It's true. Though we do already have people asking you about how your TikTok videos. This direct quote from one of our audience members is that, Mr. Delamar, your TikTok videos are straight fire. What's your secret?
Oh. Well, I as you know, there's a little thing called sea shanties going on right now, and that's apparently caught on fire and gone off the hook, as it were. I kind of started that, so I'm just kind of seeing old ones, But I appreciate, and I try to keep it as short as possible, because I know I'm catering to a generation of people where they just can't keep their attention on like a butterfly, let alone a bumblebee or like a screen, as it were. So that keep it short, keep it simple, and just like sing what you will. I would say that's my secret. Thank you so much for asking.
Just great advice. So, we are, I think everyone who's not born in 1590, think these are pretty unprecedented times that we're living in. We've got a pandemic. We've got, we had an attempted coup in America, and, all sorts of things happening. And, none of that is living up to your sort of expectations.
I when we learned about like the New World and like God rest her, our Virgin Queen was sending people off to a country, and like she named a place after herself. We were quite excited. We did see a potato come back. I think a potato made it back into her court, and a friend of a friend told me about that. Somebody like bit into it. It wasn't super impressive. I guess it's a long way of saying I thought you might do more with this place. Like I thought you could actually be a little bit more inventive about like the cities that you put together. Everything is so far apart. I feel like I might get lost on the way to like a supermarket or something like that, just crossing the street. Things should be a little bit more tightly knit, people are separated from each other. People don't know their next door neighbor. Like we looked out for each other. If we were like, living in the slums, living in like a nice part of town, I just feel everybody's really disconnected. And as far as the coup, I mean, I think everybody kind of saw that coming, maybe, but nobody was like reading the warning signs. I feel like our people was just, God rest everybody I know is dead. So I'm just going to lead with that. I feel like all my friends just had a better head on their shoulders.
Well, is there anything, I think everyone wants to know, is there anything that has impressed you so far in these modern times?
Oh gosh, ice cream. God
Yeah?
love. Who knew that you could just milk a cow, throw some sugar in it, just churn it for a while, make sure it doesn't become butter, and just like freeze it. And then the days are so hot here. I'm like, I feel like I'm wearing practically nothing most of the time during the summertime. But eating just watermelons are amazing. Have you ever just had a watermelon, like maybe just gone into like, open a window on a hot summer day, let the wind just kind of like catch you if there is a wind. It's so humid nowadays. And then just bite into a crisp bit of watermelon, or like eat a bit of ice cream. It just feels like heaven to me. That's very impressive in my eyes. Refrigeration? Gosh. Drinks are a lot easier to make, I would say. We don't have to drink hot day. All right. Okay. So you have some things going for yourself, Ryan. All right. You got me there.
Yeah. Can't be all bad. We do have a question from the audience, and they're wondering if you mentioned you thought smoking was healthy. They're wondering if you've tried vaping.
Bathing?
Vaping.
Only once. Oh, vaping. I was going to say, well, I bathe once a week now that the water just was there. Vaping. I would only try to do it to see if I could make interesting shapes with the smoke. I have seen the viral videos of people pretending to be dragons and whatnot, and I think that's particularly interesting. But I also hear there's a little thing, the devices that they come in like might catch fire. Is that true?
I think some of them, depending on how you purchase them.
I will take my chances with real fire. That's something I do have experience with. You just, if it's inside the device, how do you blow it out? Riddle me that, Ryan.
That's a great question. Right. I think you probably throw it on the ground and stomp on it, maybe, or.
But I see so many people doing that just nowadays, just tossing things they don't like. This goes on the ground, foot goes on top. Wipe my hands of it. But actually, that's a pretty good point. You probably do. That's probably an effective method.
In the time we have left, I was wondering if you have any suggestions of how we can kind of pick up the pace and better live up to your wildest dreams.
I would say bring back wooden cobblestones. There's just this musical kind of melodious like shadow to it when like a horse and its carriage go over it. Bring back horses and carriage. Everybody is very, very nervous about fossil fuels, and I would just say like horses are as natural as you can get as far as like natural horsepower. Oh gosh, what else? I would say like get to know your neighbor. You never know when they might have your back, or invite you over for a pint, or if you get into a brawl, they might have a knife handy. Those are all very good things just to have, kind of like get to know your neighbor a little bit. They might surprise you.
All right. Well, finally, if you wanted to just make a quick elevator pitch to tell people to buy your book, if you had any, your quick pitch for why people should buy your book.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we have metal things that fly in the sky. We have metal things that like go underground and underwater. Don't you ever hearken for the good old days and you feel like life is pretty piss poor right now? So what? Dive into my book and learn what it was really like to live back then when I did.
Well, Henry Delmar, thank you so much for being here. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Paramount Plus supports people of interest. We know you are already paying upwards of $66 a month on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Apple TV Plus, and Peacock, but we think you're ready to spend another $5 to $10 on top of that to watch a bunch of shows that are already on TV all the time, like Young Sheldon.
During the start of the quarantine, many took up crafts like knitting and decoupage as a way to pass the time. While many found this as a nice diversion, others got their first taste of the thrill of crafting and began to craft insatiably. After mastering simple crafts like origami or bread making, many began to turning to more dangerous forms of crafting, such as glass blowing and wood turning. Eventually, the thrill of even those pursuits can wear off, as my next guest, Kobe Sanderson, can attest. Sanderson has become what's dubbed as an extreme crafter, seeking bigger and bigger thrills to make cute little tchotchkes and decorations. Some activities she's logged on her Instagram include metal forging inside an active volcano and sneaking up on wild horses and braiding their tails and manes. Sanderson joins us here to tell us what drives her to these lengths and to caution others who might be heading down this path. Kobe Sanderson, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I got to say, when someone told me about your Instagram, I kind of scrolled down, kind of check it out, sort of chronologically, and things really start to pick up after you sort of mastered, decoupage and some of these easier ones. Like, what happened?
You're kind of sitting around your house, farting around, and you're like, how many of these tiny baby angels can I decoupage? Let's go to something bigger. So I went to medium-sized baby devils. And then that wasn't enough. So then I looked at my cat and I went, oh, maybe I could decoupage my cat. And then after we tried to decoupage his butt, and it was just a huge failure, huge mess. So then it just kind of escalated from there, where I started making knives, and then I started making the knives into sculptures. It's just it's really hard to scratch that itch when you can't see your friends who can give you hugs. So you gotta replace the thrill of a hug with something violent.
And things are, things seem like they've gotten pretty violent. When you braiding those wild ponies, that one, I feared, I was on the edge of my seat watching that one.
Yeah, I was talking to my therapist, and I think it was just an exercise in dominance, which harkens back to my lack of control in fourth grade when everyone was allowed to have bangs and I wasn't. So I was like looking at these horses, and I was like, I'm going to give them bangs. And then I realized that they already have bangs. So what's the next best thing? You braid their tails when they're not looking, and you put beads in them. You make them into little smiley faces, and just the thrill of like, am I going to get my skull cracked? Am I going to get my sternum broken? Really kind of helps you work out the trauma,
So you feel that this kind of all goes back to where you were in fourth grade?
Yeah, everything was fine. Everybody just had like pigtails and middle parts, and then Stacy Gooblegay came into school. She had these bangs, and no one had seen bangs before. I live in a very small town. Everybody had the same hair. We went off a book from like my grandma's house from like 1920, where it was like all braids and all middle parts. And then Stacy Gooblegay came in with bangs, and we were like, what the heck is this? And then all of a sudden, boys and girls, everybody starts coming in with bangs. And then I go to my mom and I'm like, hey, Mom, Stacy Gooblegay is the queen of bangs, and I also want to be the queen of bangs. And she was like, no, that's not what we do. We're not bangs folk. So you're going to go with your sensible braids. And then I wasn't asked to the 4th grade dance. And my teacher made me sit in the back of the class. And, it was just so hard, not being able to do that. So that's how I led to, hitting things with paintballs and making them art.
I hope this isn't a sore subject, but I notice you still don't have bangs.
I know. It's just every time I try to go for bangs, it just has never worked. It's never worked. My hair either doesn't have the right texture or it's not the right length. And, honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I'm scared to get bangs because it's a big commitment,
Is that, sort of the last frontier? Is that the one thing that scares you?
Yeah, I think it's, once you've done some metal work in an active volcano, a lot of your sense of mortality is put in check in a really healthy way. But I just like, what if I'm not the bangs queen and everybody makes fun of me? And what if Stacy Gooblegay comes back in my life and she's a real bee about it? I don't need that energy in my life. I've already got enough going on, My cat doesn't like me. I'm not allowed near horses anymore. I live in a small town. Everybody's got a horse. I can't go near anybody.
Oh, yeah. That's gotta be difficult. We do have a question from the audience, going back to some of your more extreme hobbies. And, Elon Musk is offering, the chance for civilians to go into space. And someone's wondering, how would you prepare if you were going to space, to do hand embroidery in zero gravity?
Okay, so here's what I'd do. I'd watch Apollo 13 over and over and over again for a year so that if I was in a space crisis, I know what to do. And also, I'd bully Tom Hanks into coming over with me because I've got that crazy craft money now and I can do whatever I want. So I'm going to get Tom Hanks to come over with me. He's going to make me a salad. And then after we eat the salad, we're going to go over. He's going to throw me into a lake with a bunch of decoupage baby devils that I made that I still cherish, while also holding a rock. And it's like, here's an extreme environment. You're with your baby devils, and you're in the lake, and there's a lot of fish in this. Like, what are you gonna do? There might be fish in space. We don't know yet. We don't know if there are fish in space. Okay, so we got to do that. And then I'm gonna wear a bunch of heavy boots everywhere, really heavy boots, so that I know what gravity is like. And I'm going to say goodbye to my family. I'm going to throw a real big party. And then, I just think that I'm going to assign them all a craft that I made. I'm going to give my cousin Terry my knife sculptures. And it's just going to be me and Elon Musk's kid Kyle with the crazy name and Tom Hanks. And we're just going to have a real good time, And also embroidery stuff. You gotta bring embroidery stuff, but that's right. Kind of given.
Yeah. While you are engaging in this lifestyle, you have, very much don't try this at home kind of, trying to prevent people from also going down this road and for this lifestyle. How do you, what do you say to people who are sort of falling into this trap? What are you going to do to try to stop people, even though you're doing such cool things like crosspoint on a hang glider?
I mean, the tough thing is that, I just don't want to go down in history as a Logan Paul type. I'm not a Team 10 where I'm like, anybody can do this. You got to give me a bunch of money, and then I'll teach you how to set a car on fire for attention. That's not me. This is a big life commitment. It's a huge adrenaline rush, and I just don't think it's safe for fifth graders to start working with needlepoint while someone's doing a 7-gun salute nearby at a military funeral. I don't think that's smart. So I just go up to them. I say, hey, don't do it. It's not good. Okay? Don't do it.
But then you go and do it.
And then I go and do it. But it's like, it's because it's my life and I get paid to do this. But like, you know, it's, you just go to them and say, don't do it. This stuff, don't. And you leave them a lot of voicemails under this same vibe, just saying, don't try. It's not good. Don't do it. Send them a lot of long letters. You know, that's what you just got to keep. You just got to keep hammering in there. Just like, don't.
But does that work? I mean, is that working? Stopping the kids from doing it?
I mean, I haven't seen anybody do it, so it's out of sight, out of mind, you know. So to me, 100% effective. No one's ever done it, and everybody's listened to me. Never seen one kid. Never seen one kid.
So, you know, some people are starting to wonder if you're doing that to prevent other people from stealing your thunder, so to speak, and you're sort of kneecapping the competition.
Okay, all right. I just think that's a big statement here, you know, because, like, anyone can do this, but I just would specifically like them to not, you know. It's not It's not because I'm afraid they're going to copycat from me and steal my thunder, but, like, who can make baby devils like I can? No one can. And who can make a bunch of old bones that you found at a crime scene that you took and you made it into a chair? Like, that's, no one else can do that. No one else should do that, because that's, like, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Those bones were found legally, and they didn't need those bones anymore. So I just don't think that. I don't think this is a thunder thing. I think this is like I'm just trying to live my life. I'm just trying to live my life here.
Sure. So I guess the other big question is, what do you have coming up? What's next? How are you going to top yourself?
Ooh. Okay, so first of all, I think this is what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be real crazy. I'm gonna go to the zoo. I'm gonna find the pandas. We go to DC Zoo where all those pandas were playing in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna take those pandas with me to a place, and we're gonna work on some Mod Podge, and we're gonna make some little baby pandas. Because the pandas aren't doing great, you know. Like, I think it's just time that we start giving them things to do that aren't eating bamboo. Maybe if we teach them how to do some elegant needlepoint, we'll get more pandas, because, you know, they're not too smart. They're not too smart. So I think we're gonna do that. We're gonna get the pandas. We're gonna take them to a place where I am not telling you where they're gonna be, and we're gonna make some elegant needlepoint. And then maybe I'll teach him to fire a gun. Like, you know.
Oh. And you think that this is going to help the pandas, you know, help the pandas mate more? Because it seems, you know, it's kind of the sort of big problem. So you think elegant needlepoint and firing guns is what's going to...
I think that if you find a balance of elegant art and brute force of your choosing, it can really help you get stuff done. And maybe they'll be like, oh, I got all this energy. Where should I put it? Oh, you got it too. Let's kiss. Let's panda kiss. And then we'll have little pandas together, you know? I'm just saying, I think it's going to work.
Well, I mean, it sounds like your crafts are not just for the thrill of it, but you are trying to make the world a better place.
I mean, yeah. I think people love pandas. I think people love volcanoes. I made people think about volcanoes for a second. You know, volcanoes were old news. Now they're news.
Fair enough. So before you go, is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to impart to anyone who, maybe they're already at that point where it's too late for them, how to do it, if you're going to go down that road, what should you do?
Okay, so say you're going down this road. You've already made you've already made a horse make you a nice wreath. You're already doing this crazy stuff. No turning back. The thrill of a kiss doesn't do it for you anymore. So here's what you do. You gotta just be safe, and you gotta be smart, and you gotta be exciting, and you gotta be cool. So what else do you need? Pandas. I'm kind of the pandas, but teaching a panda how to fire a gun, exciting, cool. Bringing up the panda population, cool. Gotta be, and I'll treat them well, which is nice. So just don't be a dummy about it. Don't be like, oh, I'm gonna make this Charlie Manson out of pumpkins. Nobody fucking wants that. Nobody wants a Charlie Manson out of pumpkins. Because it's not good. Nobody likes him, except for a very specific amount of people in this country. They're there, sure, and they all want to kiss him still, and it's weird. But that's another day. That's another Instagram for me. But yeah, Here we go.
All right. Well, Kobe Sanderson, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
And that's the show, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a wonderful time, and I know that the guests were amazing. And as a matter of fact, let's bring them out. Let's bring them back out. It's live audio of the audience clapping right now. Everyone at home right now is clapping wildly. Which I just telling the guests, at home that you're clapping. And moving. Thanks you guys for being here. Why don't you tell me about something you got going on? Let's do this right. Dru Kramscak, what you got going
on? Not much right now. I'm reading a book by this guy Chris Naughton called Egyptologist Notebooks. So if anyone's interested in ancient Egypt, it's pretty cool because he profiles different 18th and 19th century Egyptologists, and he actually has their original drawings and sketches and everything. So it's pretty cool. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, check out that book. That's a real book, not one of the made up books that we brought up on the show. That's a Thank you, Dru. Joe Gates, what do you got going on?
I got a couple of things that are very exciting going on. My virtual improv group, Hot Switch, that is Hot Switch at Facebook. We are just a bunch of Philly folks, and we're coached by Adil Rafai from Hello from the Magic Tavern, and we're going to be doing a brand new virtual improv form inspired by television and good old channel surfing, and that's going to be Tuesday, February 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But another thing that I'm up to is I'm going to be participating in doing a live streamed tabletop role-playing game. It is a pulp Call of Cthulhu. It's kind of like Indiana Jones, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, like The Mummy, any of those like larger-than-life pulp-style adventure stuff. And we are actually also trying to save the world, but we're also trying to save lives as well. And the stream is part of Extra Life Group. It's an effort to raise $10,000 for charity. That's for Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. And if you're interested in that, that's coming up on March 28th. You can look at Twitch, Twitter, or Extra Life at Andrew, like the name, Andrew, Man Grenade, MANGRENADE. So just funny make-em-ups and also just role-playing. So.
Wow. Joe, I think you might be busier than I am, and that's saying a lot. All right, Katie. Damn, darn it.
I don't really have anything personally going on. I'm reading R. Eric Thomas's book right now, and it's really good. But I do have a charity I'd like to plug.
Do it.
So that's okay.
It's very okay.
So in normal times, this would be Mardi Gras weekend for New Orleans, and which is a big tourism money. Like it's how a lot of businesses make a lot of money, but a lot of businesses are closed because the city has put in an ordinance to keep people safe. So the crew of Red Beans is raising money for local restaurants and bars to basically keep them alive and keep them open so that New Orleans doesn't become not New Orleans. So Crew of Red Beans is doing a thing called Bean Coin, where you buy you give money and then they send you beans and then you can use those to pay for drinks in the future. Yeah, you're prepaying for drinks, but it's still like it helps them keep their doors open. And you get little kilo glass beads. They're beautiful.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, they've also done amazing things like keep cultural standard bearers in groceries and like their bills paid. So they've been really kicking ass throughout this pandemic.
Is there any sort of system for beignets? I think that's the big question.
Maybe that's a for when Jazz Fest was supposed to happen thing in the spring. They'll do like beignet coins.
That would be fantastic.
It would be.
Yeah, because they're delicious.
They really are.
Yeah, they should be in more places. That's all I'm going to say about that. And Neil pre-recorded his news, but he's here in spirit, I assume. I don't know what his spirit does, honestly, during the day, but I'm sure he's here in spirit. So thank you, Neil. And thank you guys for being so great. And thank you, audience, for coming to this show. I loved your questions tonight. They were fantastic. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all of them, but there were a lot, and they were great. So finally, of course, a special thank you to TAT Communications. Went the wrong way again. TAT Communications is the reason that this presentation looks so amazing. I say it every month, or I should, is that it's the best looking live virtual comedy show in the world. And if someone can prove me wrong, let me know, and and maybe you'll prove me wrong, but I doubt it. So anyway, thank you for coming out. And yes, Sunday is my birthday. So for those of you who came here to the show tonight, this counts as a birthday present. And it was just wonderful, and I really appreciate it. And it was just such a touching gift that you gave me. Anyway, thank you again. We'll see you next month. And as always, I have been Ryan T. Barlow. This has been People of Interest, and please stay interesting. Have a good night.